Sweet.
So back to what you said about, young kids and they're not able to afford housing, there are no jobs, and AI is taking the jobs, or AI is like pretty much doing so many things right now. One thing I've realized, being a good business owner and entrepreneur is also O'Leary said the same thing. He was like, one of the best skills as an entrepreneur is like to be able to pivot. What does that mean? Things change every single day. The reality is like now with AI, of course, things are changing much faster than it used to before.
Hmm.
Uh, but you should be able to adjust your approach in whatever you're doing, and you can find a job. At the same time, when jobs are being replaced by AI. At the same time, jobs are being opened. If but it will take you the time and effort to get in there, learn the AI. Same thing happened with internet, right? People didn't know how to use. There are so many people that made money from pretty much going to older people at that time that didn't know how to use the internet and solve their problem. Like, okay, let me show you, let me teach you how to use it, or I'll do it for you. You just pay me. I believe there's always opportunity. It just fluctuates and changes with the time.
From where we sit, because we both like built businesses. I don't want to say in an old school way, but we like resources wise. I think when we both started, we had the internet, we had access to things, but not the instant information. Like you still had to Google, and then you had to search through different articles and find the information through these 15 articles that it sent you, and hopefully you found something that was reliable. Now with AI, for the most part, you can trust what it gives you, but there's some bias. But now the instant access to information, I think like for young entrepreneurs, they have a little bit of a leg up because if you want to learn AI, AI can teach you AI. If we were if there was no AI for us to research and we wanted to learn AI, we would have had to like buy books and podcasts and YouTube University. If I want to learn something very specific now, I just type that very specific thing, and I can find videos, tutorials. It doesn't even have to be an article. The AI can teach me in the chat. So I think that's interesting. I think the job market, like you said, we're starting, and we're playing chess today. In case if you're just listening to this podcast, and don't get the visual, we're gonna play chess while we chat. So, yeah, I think the landscape's interesting because, um, all the opportunity in the world is there. You can learn anything you want to learn pretty much instantly, but everyone has the same competitive advantage now. Everyone can access AI. Everyone can learn what you can learn. So now it's a question of like, what skill sets do I need to be good at to be competitive outside of my ability to prompt AI to give me the information I need? So it's like coding. But actually, I argue, as much as the technical skills are super important, I think the boring jobs are going to come back and be more valuable than ever. Like
Oh,
the
absolutely.
plumbers, the electricians, the stuff that AI can't do. Maybe we'll have robots, but I don't think the average handyman's going to have a robot that comes in and like repairs your house. So I think that is, if I was a young person, that would be as attractive to me learning a hard skill as it would be trying to be technical savvy. Because you could still have a side hustle and know some AI stuff and have a good like work with your hands skill.
No, absolutely. And the way and the speed that technology is moving forward. One example with exactly what you said with the boring companies, right? Such as plumber, HVAC, whatever, which it is a necessity, right? If your AC breaks down, you cannot hold it. You need to fix it, because if
Right.
it's winter, you're gonna be cold. If it's summertime, you're gonna be sweating the house. Somebody can become a plumber or get the Ray-Ban glasses or the Meta AI or whatever it's gonna be, in the next future, which it can instantly check the area, see what the problem is, recognize it, troubleshoot it, and just tell you, hey, take this, fix this, and tell you exactly what to do. So with just a little bit of information about you understanding, how an HVAC system works or how the plumbing system works or whatever that might be, the AI can literally live tell you exactly what to do.
I think, do you think people will actually do that? Like, well, I'll research stuff all the time, like just doing my typical home repair stuff. Like I'll look up things or I'll search like a recipe, but sometimes I'm still too lazy to do it. I still won't do it myself. Like I'll look it up and be like, okay, I know how it's supposed to be done, but I'm still probably not gonna go get the tools and go try to fix my air conditioning unit. Like I'm not gonna do that.
But you see, that's the foundation of being an entrepreneur or being a successful person in any area. you can have the knowledge, but if you don't imply it,
Right.
that's nothing.
Right.
They say knowledge is power, but you can read 100 books, but if you don't implement what you're reading and you don't try it, you're not actually doing it.
You have no power.
Exactly. So that's a foundation. You have to move. You have to do the work. A couple days ago at Santorini, the AC, the cooler broke down, and I went up there. I looked in my eyes. I tried to, I'm the opposite. I'm a person like, what's going on? Let me see. Can I see? Can I find a problem? Can I fix it myself? That's always my first attempt to try to solve it myself. Went up there, looked at it, didn't see anything. I saw there was a leak, but I wasn't sure. Take a photo with my phone, go to ChatGPT, put it up there. What's the problem? It's my move. Done.
Wait, I didn't move a second. You moved your night. I didn't move yet.
All right. Yeah, right. So take a photo, upload it on ChatGPT. I'm like, can you scan the area, see what the photo shows you? It's a cooler, a walk-in cooler. Try to find the problem and what could be the solution. It's too soon, so honestly, it didn't really help me. But then I took a photo of the label on the side. It says, the model number, the brand, all the information. And I'm like, find me solutions to either repair this one or replace it. And I was just spending, a couple hours there, and I find a solution. That
That's
cost
amazing.
me much. I know exactly which model to order. I order it. It came to the restaurant. I hired the right technician to install it. Otherwise, you would have to bring a technician directly. They would
charge you for that.
just to do the troubleshooting, and then they would sell you what their supplier is giving them, because everybody gets a commission pretty much. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but that's the reality. And then I would have paid triple the amount of money that I paid. So AI in general, I do think it helps, but it takes you to do the work. It takes you to be there, like you said, right? If you have the recipe to make a great meal, but you don't go to buy the groceries and you don't prep the meal, all the ingredients, and you don't cook it, you're not gonna have dinner on the other night.
And there's still the skills, like the hard skills that go into that too, like for your example. And that's a perfect example of how you can leverage AI to save you money. Like, you didn't have to obviously personally fix it, but you got the information you needed to get the right person in, and without having to guess and them trying to overcharge you. But like, yeah, people, if you're looking up how to build something or do carpentry, you still have to know how to use the tools, like the physical tools, and like be not terrified to use them. Like, a lot of people won't get into those types of tasks, or they won't do those jobs because they don't want to mess with a circular saw and try to like cut stuff. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. I almost feel, in a lot of ways, I feel bad for Gen Z, Gen Y, whatever these new gens are, because I think they have this overwhelm of access to information, which by default is going to make 50-60% of them very lazy, because they're like, why try to learn it myself? I can just have it do the research for me. But also, I think I know personally, even now as an entrepreneur that has a business, I still get some overwhelm and some shiny object syndrome by new things. So I can't imagine the 16, 17-year-old who's like, you got all these decisions to make, and you've got, should I go to college? Should I just skip that, go to trade school? Should I just become an entrepreneur? Or should I build an AI? Whatever. I think some people think that maybe there's a time period where you won't have to work, which I don't think that's reality. But like, I just think it's a very interesting time. I don't know. I think there's as many positives as there are negatives with AI, especially in regards to entrepreneurship, because so many opportunities to leverage it in your business, and there's so many ways that AI could potentially take over your business or replace your business. So I think it's just like your responsibility to make sure you understand it and the ways that it threatens you, and the ways that it could potentially move the needle for you, save you money, like your example. So I think it's both. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at personally too, is like, I'm just trying to learn, not try to get shiny object syndrome where I'm trying to figure out every new AI that comes out, but which ones could directly affect my business and help me like move faster, move more efficiently, and serve clients better.
Entrepreneurship, I think the younger generation, that they see it in the wrong way. They see it as a solution to their money problem. That everybody wants to get rich, and they want to get rich fast.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas there are two problems. Number one is you rely on money, and number two, you want it to be fast. You have to be patient in life. The right things come at the right time. But in my opinion, entrepreneurship is not necessarily a way for you to get rich. For me, it's the freedom that it gives you. the freedom, not necessarily of time, because in the beginning, when you become an entrepreneur, you have to give all in.
Right.
You have to give every second you have. You have to be there. Like in an actual business like myself, such a restaurant, you have to be there from opening to close. And after you close, you have to look at the financials. You have to calculate your taxes, check out the labor costs, the food costs, all the stuff, which is after you close a restaurant. But the freedom of decision, I didn't move it.
Did you not?
No.
1, 2, 3. You're right.
So
This is tough.
I know, right? What I was saying about the
freedom.
The freedom, yeah. But it gives me the freedom to I choose, how I want my restaurant to look like. I choose the menu items. I choose, the policies that I put. I choose, the environment that I want to create for my customers, for my employees, for everybody. That type of freedom. One thing that old people used to say, and I love it: find something that you love, and then make money of it. You know why? Because if you love what you're doing, whatever that is, it can be crypto, it can be restaurants, it can be social media, it can be anything. If you love it, you will continue doing it, and then money will come. Sooner or later, it will come. Maybe the first year, maybe the second year, maybe the third year, but it will come.
And it doesn't mean you'll be rich either.
Yeah, of course, everybody has different goals and limits as far as like how much money they make. But when you love what you're doing, you're going to keep doing it. Why? Because you love it. But if you do something for money, if you don't make money, you're going to give up. And you know what? You're going to pick up something else. You're going to try. You're not going to make money soon. You're going to give up. So you're going to spend 10, 20, 30 years of your life, keep trying. Why? Because you're chasing money, instead of finding something that you love and then find a way to make money out of it.
And that's a good point with that too, because I know what tends to happen with that is you build this muscle of just like start, fail, quit. Start, fail, quit. And so it's like start, fail, learn, try again, and stick to that thing that you started. Because I know a lot of people that I've talked to that have quit. There was a photographer that I used to work with, and I wanted to work directly with me, and he kept selling this camera gear. Every time we reconnect over 3-4 months, I'd be like, hey man, I have an opportunity. He's like, oh man, I sold all my cameras. I'm like, why would you sell your cameras? I was like, I don't understand. And he would get stuck. He was trying to do his own gig, his own portrait photography business. And he would run out of clients. A month would go dry. Maybe he wasn't marketing himself. I don't know what the deal was. Maybe he wasn't good with his finances. Regardless, he kept giving up on his passion for whatever reasons, and then would go back to working in the restaurant. So he was working in the restaurant trying to do the photography business. And I think over the course of like 2 years of knowing him, he had bought and sold cameras probably 7 times. So every time he would get burned out at the restaurant, he'd be like, oh, I'm going to buy cameras again and give it another shot. Like, dude, you just have to commit. If anything, like, don't sell the cameras. Like, maybe that's like the first step is like, stop selling them so you have them available to you if you get a job. But it was just interesting. I think he just built this muscle of like, if I get stuck, I can sell the cameras, take the cash, pay my rent. I'm good for a while. And then when I get money saved up, I'll try again. And that's just the wrong mentality. And I think a lot of people that get into entrepreneurship, they try to pursue something. And I think you'd agree with this too. Not every idea is a good idea for business long term. Like there's some passions that just may not pay your bills. You have to be exceptional, maybe a one of one when it comes to like selling art.
And they might actually do work regardless,
Right.
But you have to do your research. You
Right.
have to calculate in the beginning.
And understand the realities of it. Yeah.
You can just quit your job because you decided, wake up in the morning, yes, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to be either a videographer, whatever that is. And yeah, but how are you going to pay the rent? You still live, you still rent. How are you going to eat? How are you going to do everything? If you don't have some money on the side to cover that, that's why most people suggest, start it as a side hustle. Spend some time there, 4 hours a day, 6 hours a day, whatever you can. And once that thing that you're doing is making you money, enough to pay for your expenses, I'm not saying profits, right? Enough to cover your rent, your food and everything, then you can either reduce your hours or quit your job and focus full time.
Right.
But you can't just quit your job, start a new thing without planning ahead, without budgeting correctly for things that you don't know. You're not an entrepreneur from the beginning. You become one from when you start. But there is expenses, that taxes, lawyers, accountants, all the stuff that you haven't calculated. You don't know how much it costs. So you're gonna start doing it, and then the first thing you start spending money instead of making money. Well, people think the moment you become an entrepreneur, you're earning money, but it doesn't work like that.
No.
You have to invest money, you have to invest time, and then sometime money will come back to you.
Right. That was kind of the journey I took. I was serving at a restaurant, and my goal was I wanted to be able to have enough money to where if I did lean into doing photography full time, I could at least pay my rent for 1 to 2 months without having to stress about the restaurant. And so that's what I did. I think I saved for like 6 months to where I had enough money saved to where I could pay my rent for 3 or 4 months. And that's when I knew I was like, I'm in a spot where I feel like I can commit enough, like financially, I could purchase a camera, purchase a lens, but I could also, if something does take off with, photography, I get a couple jobs, I could say, hey, can someone cover my shift? Because I feel confident enough that this work will lead to more work and I don't need to spend as much time. So I think for me personally, it was like probably a full year of trying to balance both. And then maybe month like 10, 11, I had enough saved and was getting enough of, jobs to get my name out there a little bit, to start building that momentum. And I think that's the part as an entrepreneur, that, a lot of people speak motivationally about momentum, but it's a real thing and it compounds over time. I think a lot of entrepreneurs underestimate like the small needle movers. Like, getting your first gig is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like the first time you did a thing that you're good at and someone gave you money for it, that's a big deal. You just verified a skill set, and that's all it takes is one time. And I think, not getting too cocky, not getting too ahead of yourself. Like realize, okay, someone paid me, but that doesn't mean I can't get better, and that doesn't mean I've made it yet. But also understanding that like that's not the time to take your foot off the gas. Like you get your first job, it's like, okay, how do you leverage that to get your next? And that's like, get a testimonial, share on social media that you're doing this thing. Like, and I think that's like, kind of the building blocks when you first start out. Is that, it's that balance of understanding, you're not going to make it overnight. You need to financially understand there's going to be some costs. And also, don't stop trying to be good at what you're doing. I think if you lose that, you start losing the passion, and that's when you start being like, man, I don't know if I want to do this forever. It's because you're not working on your craft anymore. You're just doing a job now, and that's the part that also kills people.
That's very true. And goes back to the patience that we said before, and you have to not try to be 200%, 300% better than yesterday. Just try 1%.
1%.
Is that accumulation of 1% every day is 364% at the end of the year. And you can do that for 3 years. That's 900%. You see that the improvement, it's huge. But where did it start? 1%.
Right.
That first video you make, that first payment you get, like, good. How can I become better next time?
Right.
Can I do this video next time better? Can I make the customer, or the client happier? Can I give them more value? Boom. And then there is always going to be more money for that. And that's how you scale. But also, mentally, it's not as easy as people think it is to be a business owner, because everything relies on you. Well, when you have 2 restaurants like myself and you employ 40 people, you're responsible to feed 40 people, which is actually more than that, because they have families too. They have kids, they have parents, they have, husbands and wives. So it's more than that. They're expensive too. So you are responsible to make decisions for your businesses that either they're going to make your business succeed or fail. If they succeed, everybody's happy. Your employees are happy, they're getting paid, they're getting raises, they're getting, bonuses. You're happy, hopefully you make some money too. But then if the decisions that you make are not good decisions and your companies fail, these people are not going to be starving. They're going to be looking for another job. They're going to stay without money for a couple days or weeks or months, depends, especially, this time of the year. So it's not an easy thing to be an entrepreneur. And people need to realize that, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Most of it is rainy days, it's dark nights, it's sleepless nights, and you have to be mentally strong. You have to be prepared for that.
It's Batman when you think about it. It's like it's the Dark Knight. You're like you have all the pressure, all the weight. You're extremely vulnerable. Everything falls on you at the end of the day. It's your fault if you win. It's your fault if you lose.
Yeah, and you have to show up there with a big smile, like nothing is
Right.
going on.
100%.
And that's also very hard too. Nobody knows what's going on behind the curtains, behind the scenes, when the restaurant closes, when the camera closes, whatever that might be. So people need to prepare for that and need to be ready to work hard mentally, physically. I tell to my team, I always tell them there's three things that you need to be taken care of: your mind, your soul, and your body. Your body's exercise. Might be running, might be jogging, might be a bicycle, might be go to the gym, lift weights, whatever you think it's good for you. Soul, it's God, it's go to the mountains, summer peaceful meditation, yoga, just silence, quiet. And then, of course, there's the mind, where reading, getting learn. And reading is very, very important because you just get to learn from other people's mistakes pretty much. It's when you get a new piece of equipment and they give you a handbook and they tell you exactly how to turn on the camera, how to do each one, how to troubleshoot things. That can be a book for you. It can talk to you about life. It can talk to you about financials. Whatever your struggle is, find the right book, read it, and learn from it. And then just pretty much what we said in the beginning, implement the knowledge. Just because you read the book about finances doesn't mean that, oh, now you're a financial advisor. No, you have to go there, try it in your own business, see what is working, see what's not working. Every business is different. It's all trial and error. And don't be afraid to fail, because that's how you learn. It's just you have to stand up again and be like, okay, this didn't work. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? Until you can find
100%.
the one thing that's working. And even Jeff Bezos said it with Amazon. He said they made more money from trying things. They had a team that were like, okay, we're gonna try this. They failed so much. And yet they were going to raise more money from investors. And they were like, well, the last 10 years, you've been losing money. Yes, but the big thing will come. And it did come. And Amazon just, became so big. It's one of the biggest companies on the earth right now.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a good point too, because you talk about the 1% improvement. I think, and you'll probably agree with this too. I think a big killer for entrepreneurs is you think you're moving the needle because you're busy, but that's not always a 1% progress move. You know what I mean? Like there's times when something like organizing your office, that is productive and it feels good, but and that might be all you did all day. And you feel good, you're like, wow, my space is clean, but it's not necessarily something that moves the needle forward 1%. But sometimes as an entrepreneur, when you don't feel like you're moving, you're making progress, you're not, maybe the revenue's not growing, the team's not growing, business feels kind of stale, you'll do things. And I don't know if it's intentional, maybe it is, like in the back of your mind, to be busy. Like you'll research things, or you'll look up some AI, or mess with like something in Premiere Pro, and you're just doing stuff. But you're not really, it's not anything that's doing a 1% move. But you feel busy. So it's like, okay, I'm working on my business. But did it affect any of your clients in a positive way? Did it affect your revenue in a positive way? Did it affect your team in a positive way? Did it move the needle forward? I think that's the question you have to ask yourself, because myself, especially in this, because there are so many distractions in entrepreneurship, especially when you're the one, like you said, you get to make all the big decisions. You get to decide, what we're selling, how we're making it. It's easy to like research or look at things, and not say that reading books, that's a great thing to do. But I do think at the same time, if you're not implementing, to your point, you're just consuming and it feels good. You feel like you're getting all this stuff, and a lot of people do it, but they never actually implement anything they're learning, and they never apply it to their staff, to their revenue, to their clients, to their service. And so you're not moving anywhere. You're just I don't know what the word is, you're just kind of internalizing information. And so that's where I think people need to make sure you check yourself. And I check myself all the time. I'm like, when I'm looking up stuff or researching stuff, it's entertaining, right? Like when you read a cool document about some new study that came out, awesome. But is this entertain, like I have to ask myself, like, am I reading this because it's interesting, or am I reading this because I actually feel like this could help me in my business? And not that everything you read should be that way, or everything you research should be that way, but if it's intentional time, then I need to say, hey, for the next hour, I'm going to research AI software that I think can improve my service to my clients. And then after that, maybe the next hour, I'm just going to go down a rabbit hole YouTube, just because I want to see what's out there. And that's dedicated time for that. But I think if you make that decision, then you'll be able to compartmentalize like when you're being productive and when you're not. Because I think a lot of us like to scroll on TikTok and just doom scroll. And I do that too. A lot of times I'll do it for research though. I'll be searching trending reels, trending content, but I have to tell myself, before and during, I'm not here for entertainment. Find what I need in GTFO. I say, get the F off the app. I don't need to be here anymore. I've submit my time. I've researched. I'm done. Like, do you kind of relate with that? Do you notice that too?
Yeah, many people misunderstand movement for progress. Just because they're moving, just because they're doing something, they think that oh, I'm progressing. I'm actually helping my business. I'm like, not really. You have to look into it, and you have to measure. One thing I like to say is that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. you know if you don't know where your business is at right now, how many what's your sales, how that, if you're in a restaurant, what's the cost per person, how much do they spend, if you don't know important information, you don't know what to do, what action to take to change that. Because if when you open, you're like, okay, my customer is going to spend $30 a person, but then when you actually look, like, oh, they're spending $20. So that's a $10 gap, and that's why you're not making the money that you expected to make, and your business is negative cash flow. You're losing money. So your solution should be go there, find some research. Okay, why is my customer not spending $30? What can I do? Can I offer them a discount? Can I offer them an offer? Can I, is it upselling? Is it my team they're not offering a beverage maybe with their food? What is it? And then you try things and you look at that number. Does it go higher? Does it stay the same or lower? If it's going higher, then oh, this is working. Okay, I'll
Right.
stick with this. Let's see what else works. But you have to measure everything. You have to be there constantly. And the sooner you check it, if you measure it every single day, you'll be able to pivot and change things quickly. Same thing if somebody wants to lose weight or gain muscle, whatever the goal is, right? You have to get on that scale every single day. You have to measure it, or every week, and see, did it go up? Did it go down? Is the needle moving the way that you want it to go? If it is, you're doing the right thing. If it's not, you need to change your approach.
Right. What are some things like in your business now in the restaurant, maybe same, maybe both, maybe the new one, that what are some things that you're like learning or trying to implement that are kind of maybe incrementally, like increasing the percentage of sales, increasing the retention? Like, what are some things that you're trying or learning to do right now?
Well, if you compare Zardine and Santorini, there's two different concepts, right? Although they're both restaurants, Zardine, it's a fast casual. There's two reasons why people come to us. Number one is consistency on the service, on the food, on the ingredients, and number two is the speed. It's a small restaurant, it's over the counter. Somebody has 30 minutes or 1 hour lunch. They want to get in and out quick, eat something fast and something healthy and something good. Santorini on the other side, it's a full sit-down restaurant. You have the wine, you have the cocktails, full menu, appetizers, salads, entrees. So people want to spend more time. In the beginning, the mistake we're like, we're getting people in and out quick. I'm like, wait a second. What if we slow down? What if it takes 5 minutes later to get their salad? Maybe they get a second drink.
Do you track that too, like the average time that people
Yes.
sit down? What is that like typically?
So our two tops, they used to be 45 minutes. That's pretty quick. Now it's an hour and 10 minutes, but also the average check per person has increased, $15. That $15 can be another glass of wine, can be, another appetizer while they're waiting.
Is that kind of like per average, like every 15 minutes they're spending so much more, do you find, or?
No, it's not per time. It's more like the more time they spend in the restaurant, the higher the check it is.
Okay.
But you have to control it because, two people to stay there for 2 hours because they're waiting for their entree, that's a no.
But you also got a table blocks too that could additionally be an additional seat, so you're kind of thinking about that too.
Of course, you have to look at everything, and especially when you have walk-ins and reservations, you have to calculate everything, and you have to know what's your time because in a busy days, right? Like if you have reservations, you have walk-ins, you don't want to say no to the walk-in, but you cannot sit it on a table. A two-top, you expect them to sit an hour and a half max. That's what we calculate, right? So if it's 5 o'clock and I have a reservation that goes into that table at 6:30, that gives me enough time. And of course, I like to inform the people. I'm like, just to let you know, we have another table coming at 6:30. Is that going to be okay, or would you like to sit somewhere else where there's not a timing? And then the customer tells us like, no, we're gonna be in and out, or actually we want to stay longer than that. Perfect. Now you can sit on this table because my next reservation is in 2.5 hours, so you have plenty of time to enjoy yourself.
Right.
So back in the restaurants, there are different concepts, so you have to treat each concept, regarding to what it needs. On the one, people want to get in and out fast. You make sure that your operations are in such a way where the food comes out quick. In more of a sit-down restaurant where people want to enjoy their time and you want them to sit more, How do you do that? Create an environment where they feel comfortable, number one. Even if they're dressed very good or they're just out of the gym, it's a cozy place, they feel comfortable. When you go in the restaurant and you feel comfortable, you want to go back again. Why? It's all about the feelings. And that's very important about any business, not necessarily restaurants, especially restaurants, but not necessarily only restaurants. How does the customer feel? How does the guest feel? Because if they feel good, if they feel they get value for their money, yes, I went there, I spent an X amount of money, but you know what? The service was great, the food was very nice, and oh my God, I love this place. I feel like home.
Right.
That's very, very important.
Yeah, there's a lot of places we've been to, Demi and I, and food's not the best. Service, okay, but typically food's just okay. But the ambiance there is awesome. Like you walk in, great energy, and we might go. Yeah, I'd say so. That's an interesting thing there, because there are restaurants we will go back to, maybe not as frequent, but because we love the ambiance, we love the atmosphere, we'll go not as frequently as we would if the food was amazing as well. But if it was a restaurant that didn't have that ambiance and the food was where we thought it was just on par, we're probably not going back for a year. But because the ambiance, atmosphere, maybe the server was really kind, we give another shot just because we were feeling the vibes. Like, chips are good, sauce is good, maybe not the tacos. Okay, that's fine. We had a good time. We'll go back. But you have to have how we feel is, I think, as a guest that goes to a restaurant, it's a combination of things. It's the person when you walk in, does the server smile at you? Do they make eye contact? We just went to a restaurant the other day, and they got busy. They had a big order to go order. We could see the person that was on the floor scrambling because it was lunchtime, so they only had 2 servers on the floor. And next thing you know, we didn't see her for 10 minutes. We're like, man, is she gonna come back? And we saw her bagging things. We're like, we get it, but she hadn't been back to check on our food, check on our drinks, and none of that. Towards the end, we wanted to check out. We're waiting. We finished our food. No one comes to the table, so we walk up to go check out at the counter. We're like, hey, we'll just give you our card. We know you're busy. And the girl that was our server, I had to leave, so I told Demi, I was like, I'm gonna go and take off. Here's my card. Go ahead and pay. And she calls me about 15 minutes later. She says, I was still waiting here to pay. And when I did go to pay, the first guy came up and said, I need her code to check you out. So he finally got her. She comes up, did not make eye contact. She didn't apologize for not coming to the table. Didn't say, hey, I'm sorry, we had a big order, I was slammed, I'm so sorry. None of that. Just did her thing, said, hey, thank you, have a good day. And Jimmy was just like, wow, if she had just made eye contact and said, hey, you know what? Because we knew she was busy. We saw it. But if she had gone that extra step and just said, hey, I'm so sorry I didn't come back to your table, we got slammed, there's only 2 of us on the floor, she would have been like, oh my gosh, I totally understand. I get it. I used to be in the service industry. No big deal. And that would have saved it. But yeah, she didn't do that. And Demi was like, man, I feel like giving her, 10% on this tip, because this is not the way you do business. And so it's just those little details. And the atmosphere was great. The food was great. That one little thing, well, it was a big thing not coming back to the table. But I think how you end the experience is just as important as the entire conversation. Because we've had great servers, great experiences, and at the very end, they just drop off the check and there's no like, hey, they got busy, so they just set down the check and run off. They didn't say, hey, hope you guys had an amazing experience. Definitely come back and see us. My name's Chris. I would love to have you back at my table. If you just jet, like, it can really kill the whole vibe and connection that you felt like you had with the person.
Absolutely. And the industry have changed so much. For me, it was a big change, coming from Europe and Greece, where hospitality is number one. That's all we care about. Because if you think about it, why do you go out? You don't go out to eat necessarily. You can cook home, or you can order, especially here in the States, you can order DoorDash, Uber Eats, anything can come literally to your door within 30 minutes. Why do you go out? It takes time to get dressed, If you're a lady, you're gonna put makeup on, what dress, shoes. It takes time. Why? To go out, to be seen, and to feel good, to socialize. It's like you said, when you walk into the restaurant or bar, wherever you're going, you go there to spend money. When the host is like, hey, welcome, how are you? Good to see you. Oh my God, you look lovely. You guys are such a nice couple, Have you been here before? Oh, first time? Awesome, we're gonna take care of you. Let me show you, You sit at the table, the server comes, hey, how are you? The server are getting paid by you. You are the customer to them. And to this day, I don't understand why the service industry is so bad in the United States. Where in Europe, you get paid minimum wage as a server. It's crazy how here in the United States, where the server is being directly paid by the customer, they don't care to make that customer feel amazing. They don't care to get everything they need. They don't care to have a great experience, you know? I'm like, come on, he's paying you. You should be able to make their experience as best as possible, you know? My team, especially Santorini, I tell them, I want you to be like a hawk. I want you to look at the customer, every sip they take from the wine, every fork, you know, every bite they take from their food. And the moment that they raise their head to look at you, to find you, you're already on their way there.
Right.
You know, that's hospitality. Like, I'm here. When I used to work in Mykonos, my manager told me we had a lot of wealthy people and they like to smoke cigars. And he was like, I want you to have a cigar ashtray on the table before this customer sits down. I'm like, how am I supposed to know which customer is going to sit on the table, which table, and if they smoke a cigar? It's your job to do so. I'm like, what? You know, a couple days later, I see a gentleman, and I see him with a cigar over here, big ass cigar. I'm like, oh. I go right away. I grab the ashtray, and I'm just looking, where is he going? You know, and I'm like, I don't know. So I go next to the host while he was talking to him, and I see where he clicks the name and which table he assigned me. So I run on the other side. I go to the table. I put the cigar over there. Man, you should see the look on his face when he goes there, and before he even sits, the first thing he sees on his table is an ashtray for his cigar.
Yeah, that's service.
He takes it out. He looks around. He just places it over there. He was happy for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
You know, and probably even if something went wrong with the food or the service, it wouldn't be that bad.
It's forgivable.
Exactly. But like, wow, like, look at these people. Like, when you go to the restaurant and you already feel good from the moment you enter in, like, if something fails on the, like, later on, you probably don't care.
Right.
You know?
Because I think that is service. Service isn't like, doesn't mean everything goes perfect. It just means like, people are attentive to your specific needs.
Absolutely.
Like, they know your drink's full. You say you want a steak medium rare. It doesn't come out that way. That happens. The good service is, hey, let me get this fixed for you. Good communication. They feel like they're being taken care of. That's important to the server that you that you got what you wanted. Don't be like, well, sir, that is medium rare. No, you say, hey, let me take it to the chef. We'll figure this out for you. Because I've seen situations where they're like, hey, that's how we do it. And there's no conversation with the back. They're just like, hey, that's how we do it. It's like, that's not service. That's like, you know what I mean? I think, yeah, it is interesting. I don't know if it's like a culture thing. Maybe it's just, like you said, maybe it's like entitlement. But I think, you know, I think serving tables can teach you everything you need to know about entrepreneurship. I mean, you're
paying attention.
Yeah, if you're paying attention, you're a solo operator. You're 100% commission based. You earn, you eat everything that you earn, and the sky's the limit. I've given such good service at tables that I've gotten $150 tip. Like I know that once you get one, it's possible. It's like every table could be that. And the moment you go into a situation as a server where you're like, oh, these people they look broke, or they look this, that, and the third, those people will surprise you. Some of the wealthiest people look so basic. Some of the nicest people look like they just rolled out of bed, and so you can't prejudge. I think like you have to go into every situation knowing that like you determine what you earn, and you should treat every person with utmost respect. And like you said, they got out of bed, they got dressed, they put on makeup. They could have just door dashed it, but they didn't. They chose to come there, and it's your responsibility to make them feel special.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that. It reminds me of one story. When I was a server before I opened Zardin, it was right after COVID, and we were like in South Carolina here in Myrtle Beach because everything opened quicker. Where people were able to go and dine to restaurants after a couple months. So there we are. I think first, second, or third day that restaurants opened, like after the COVID. Got a table, two top, lovely couple, dressed pretty simple, But like you said, I never judge people. I treat every single customer exactly the same. I don't care if you wear a Rolex or you don't have a watch, or if you wear a famous brand. Go there, greet them, take care of them, place the order, go there, make sure they have everything. They have a bottle of wine. They asked me which wine. I told them, like, after you place your order of food, I might be able to suggest, the best wine that might be. I love wine, so I always did my research. And I think servers, that's one thing they're lacking. Like, you should invest in yourself. If you're a server and you want to make money, learn the menu, learn the ingredients, go there, talk with the chef. Hey, how do we prepare this? So when the customer tells you, like, can we remove this? You don't say, let me go check with the chef. You know that you cannot remove it. I'm so sorry, but this is, and you show the customer, like, I know my shit, I did my research. I'm a professional. I'm not just a, I'm a professional. Same thing. So I have studied the wines. I suggest them a nice wine. I didn't suggest them the most expensive, because that's another thing. People always suggest the most expensive. Like, no, you're getting this meal. This is the best wine that you can pair with. They got it. We had a lovely conversation. Their check was $92. How much did they left me?
About 92.
$500.
Wow. Wow.
On a $92 check, $500 check. I
Wow.
went to the owner. I'm like, I'm cut for the day. I'm good. You were like, you only had one table. I'm like, I showed her the check. I'm like, it's enough for me. She was shocked. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, the customer signed both checks, just to make sure. She was like, I'm not sure about this. I have to go to the bank. I have to make sure that the money goes in there. I'm like, it's all right. I'll wait. 3 days later, comes there, gives me the money. She's like, how did you do this? I'm like, I just took care of that. I didn't do anything extra that I wouldn't have done for anybody else. You see, so you have to treat the customer great. It doesn't matter how they look. It doesn't matter, if they order a lot, if they order the most expensive or the least expensive. Make sure they have a great experience, and people like the experiences.
Right.
They pay for the experience.
And obviously you're working for a check. You understand as a server or any commission-based service job like that, you are working to earn money. But I think if your motivation is like, I want to get the check as high as possible, or I want to, if your goal is like, I want to get the best tip I can, I mean, that's fine, because I think you will give good service as a result of that. But I don't think you're going to be as focused on the service itself and like how you're making people feel. Like you're just, it's not the same motivating factor, right? Like if I, like you said with entrepreneurship, if I pick something because I know it's going to make me money, yeah, I'll do it pretty well because I know I have to do the job to make money. But I'm not going to go into it with a sense of like, I want to serve people the best of my ability today. It's like, I'm going to serve people because I know it pays my bills. But if you go into a table or anything like with service, like I want these people to feel like this is the best experience they've had. I want them to be so happy. I want them to be like, wow, this is a memorable night. The result of that will be more money. And it might not be on that specific table. It might not be a $500 tip, but eventually you're going to have that couple that's like, wow, we haven't had service like this in months. Like we never get this level of service. And I love hearing that. It makes me want to go back to serving tables, because I would love when a table would tell me, this is the best serving experience we've ever had.
Yes. It's
like
the pride you feel.
And especially they'd ask you like, they'd be like, you're not just a server, are you? What else do you do?
Yes.
And that's always a compliment. You're like, yeah, I do some other stuff. And that's what started a chow. I'd say, yeah, I'm getting into photography, which wasn't anything related to service necessarily, but they always ask me like, what else do you do? You're obviously like pretty smart guy. Like you're not, and so yeah, I was like, I love doing this. I love this job. But yeah, I have creative passions. But that was always really nice when people ask you that, because that just lets you know they care about you, because you've obviously shared you care about them. You're not just there to serve them food. Because if people don't ask you that question as a server, you probably haven't done a good enough job of just like small talk and getting to know them. And obviously I'm removed from the industry. It's been a while, but I still understand, like, you want to build that rapport with people. Like go the extra step. Say, oh my God, I love your watch. I love your sweater. Where are you guys from? Whatever. Like that kind of stuff goes a long way.
Like any business, you want to make sure that the customer is happy and they have a good experience, because you make more money from recurring customers than a one time. It's great to have, you have somebody they're visiting from Europe, they have a good check, you take care of them, they give you a good tip, but when they're gonna come again?
Right.
Next
and
year,
are they going to
2
request
years,
you?
3 years, will you be the same restaurant? But when somebody says like, hey, I live in the area, and you make sure you have a good experience, they'll come back. So if their check is $100 and they leave you a $20 tip, but they come once a week, that's $80 on the month, So if you look at it more on the longer term, you have to make sure all the customers are happy, because if they come back, they're going to request you. Or even if they don't request you, which probably they will, if you leave in an amazing experience, a very good expectation of you, they'll come back, they're going to ask for you, so they're going to keep giving you that money. And maybe next time they spend $200, they bring friends on, and now that tip is like $40, double, triple. So you just, same thing with any business, just make sure your customer has a great experience and they're going to come back. And that's how you're going to make your money, by turning back and back and back.
So what are you kind of doing now to like train your staff? Because obviously we've noticed that anywhere we've gone, there's only been a few places where I've traveled where I noticed like exceptional experience, like better experiences. I think like when we go to Charleston, there's a few places where I noticed we'll get some decent service, but for the most part, I'll say like since COVID, I think as a whole, service has gone down, and I don't know why COVID sparked that. Maybe it's because we all got the stimulus checks and everyone that was serving got closed. They're like, man, I'd much rather just get a check from the government than work and try to serve people. Maybe, I don't know. But what are you trying to do differently at your restaurants to like make sure your staff is motivated, inspired, and like to try to do, go above and beyond?
It's all about training. It's all about training your team because, like I said before, everything falls into me, right? When I created the restaurant, I created the design, I created the menu, I created the wine list, everything's why? Because I have in my mind what I want the customer to experience. It's very clear in my mind. How do I expect my servers, my cooks, my everybody to see this image? They can't. I have to show them. I have to teach them. When we open Santorini, because it's more of a, we have servers, we have experience. So 35 days before we opened, every single day we were at the restaurant. I was paying them and I was training them. We were doing role playing. I was telling them like, okay, this is how we introduce ourselves. This is the menu. They had to read the menu. They had to learn the ingredients. They would see the dishes. They would try the dishes. Okay. And then customer service. How do you talk to a customer? How do you go to the table? How do you upsell? How do you suggest things? How do you tell them? Because it's a Greek restaurant. Not many people have been in Greek restaurants, and those that have been into a fast casual ways. All they eat is gyro or gyro, what they call it. Here we are introducing an authentic Greek restaurant, with authentic recipes. We import all of our Greek products from Greece. Who do they trust? The server. Yes, they can read the menu. I hate when you go to a restaurant and the server reads you the menu out loud. I know how to read. I need you to tell me something I don't see in the menu.
Right.
How is this dish prepared? Why should I try this one? Have you tried?
Right.
Oh, I haven't, but I've heard it's great. Sure. So
Yeah, like the textures, the sauce. Is it like a heavy sauce? Is it light? Is it lemon? Is it citrusy? Like, yeah, I 100% agree. There's been several times where I've asked something specific about a dish because I'm trying to visualize what that looks like. I'm one of those people, I don't know if you are, but like when I see something on the menu, I try to visualize what it's going to come out looking like, and that determines if I pick it or not. So, yeah, if I see something like filet over, quinoa, something. Like I'm like, I don't know if I like the idea of quinoa because I'm like picturing on the plate with a steak over it or something. I'm like, if it was over mashed potatoes or something, maybe. But I visualize it. And so if I ask a server about the dish and they can't like describe it, then it'll deter me because I feel like I'm not as confident, especially if it's expensive. Like if it's like a $60 plate, $50 plate, and I ask about it and they don't like really sell me on it descriptively, I usually will be, it just sounds okay.
that's what I tell my team. Like, I don't think there's many people out there that they would pay money for something that they don't understand. They'd rather get something easy, something simple, and they're losing the opportunity to try a delicious meal, something great. Why? Just because they don't understand it. Some people, they're just shy. They don't want to ask, like, what is this? What does that mean? But if you want them to have a great experience, you should be able to describe it to them, tell them, make them understand what this dish is. How does it taste? How does it look? Everything. And once they understand it, they're going to spend the money to try it. And once they try it, they're going to love it. I love when I go to tables and I'm like, well, I don't like this. That's because you haven't tried ours. What difference does it make? Well, the way we prepare it, the way we bring everything from Greece, this and that. Like, I give them more information for them to understand how it's gonna taste and how it's gonna look, and then they try and like, oh my god, like this is great. For me, that's achievement, and my goal is to try and teach that to every single team member that we have. And it's not back to the training, which is fundamental, right? We did the initial training, but also things happen on a daily basis. There are days that things are great and there are days that things are not good in the room, and you can feel it. And I tell my team, walk in the room with confidence. When you do that, and everybody does that, the customer feels it. When you're sitting over there and you see everybody walking around like, I know what I'm doing, I'm a professional, and you actually do know what you're doing, that creates the overall experience, the overall energy into the room. And when there are good days, we gather all the team out there, shift, like, hey guys, we did great, congratulations, we have some great reviews, blah blah blah, good job, let's keep it up. When there are days that something doesn't go right, hey guys, we failed today we did this mistake, why do we do this, let's, and it's not about pointing fingers, hey, Chris did this, this person did it. No, it's like, this happened, how can we avoid it from not happening again? Because not everybody knows, but you have to be responsible. You have to tell your team what they need to do. Most of the success restaurants and businesses overall, they have meetings with their teams that they tell them the good and the bad because they need to hear, and most people think like, oh, you work here, so you're supposed to know everything. They have a personal life, and especially nowadays, people just clock in, clock out, that's it. So before the shift, you have to remind them who we are, why the customers come here, why they choose us over other people, what is our job? Create an experience. So make sure every single customer has a great experience, and you have to remind them daily, 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 daily. But you're able to do that, and then the customers live happy, and they go there and share with everybody. Oh my God, we went to some training, it was great, we loved it, we felt like we're in Greece. That was my dream, to create a place that people can feel that they're transferring to Greece, having a great meal, and then coming back home. And 90% of the customers, they tell me exactly that. It makes me happy, and that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur and creating a business, But none of this would be possible if I didn't structure it right, if I didn't train my team, and if I didn't put the work. It all takes work. It's more like, again, back what we said before, find something that you love and do the work, and the results will come.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And I think, when you do find your craft, and and I can tell like you constantly are trying to like innovate and iterate and like improve it and improve it and improve it. And that's where you like, not only do you stay passionate about what you do because you realize you've achieved some success, you've got the thing, the structure, whatever, but there's still like levels to reach inside of your business. And I think, your staff notices that, your customers notice like, oh wow, last time we came, they only had, this and this. Now they've added this, they've improved that. Like the ambiance has improved, like, so that's I think that's the part, like I said, where, as an entrepreneur, you feel like you're still, you've had success, but you're still motivated, you're still chasing, you're still trying to improve. And I think it just trickles down like to the service, to the experience factor, and just like, liking what you do. Because there's been time like, and I think, you can hit a level of success where you kind of feel like you're just wanting to coast by a little bit. You're like, okay, I've hit a certain point, we're good, we're just going to maintain. But there is no maintaining. You're declining. I don't know that there's a level in entrepreneurship where you can just kind of coast and it be okay, because I think your muscles just degrade faster than they build. And it applies in fitness. I can get fit in 90 days, but I can get fat in 30. It's crazy. Like you can get out of shape so much faster than you can get in shape.
If you rest, you rust.
You rest, yeah, you're up. I love that. And so I think that's kind of like one of the things I'm taking away from the conversation with you is it's not just about building it, but it's about continue to do the work, even if you feel like you've got some success. It's not getting like overconfident or arrogant and forgetting like the details still matter. There's still things that are not being done right and not being done well that could be better. And I noticed that with everything that you do, which is pretty impressive. Now, with me, I think it can be difficult at times because a lot of what we do is digital. We don't have a physical space that people will walk into. So the way we provide service is tangible in the sense of numbers, data, if we have a good conversation with the client, that part of the experience. But there's not this daily like environment that they were able to walk into and get this experiential factor. So I'm still learning every day, especially in a digital sense, how can we make the experience better beyond just results, beyond revenue driving's great, exposure is great, brand presence is great, all those things, beautiful content, which, for your restaurant's great because they get the visual and then they come in and taste as good as it looks. But from the client's perspective, when it comes to marketing and service, there needs to be a sense of it is still improving. There's still things that are being added and improved, and it's not just like Netflix subscription where it's just the same thing every month. Maybe there's a new video, but there needs to be a constant like updating trends, updating technology, updating whatever, faster, better, cheaper. So yeah, it's interesting. I think that's that's actually what's kind of appealing to me about brick and mortar. I don't want to leave this business, but I want to eventually have something that's physical, a physical structure. Maybe it's even, podcasting here as a business. But I like the idea of, just because I like service so much in the service industry, of having some type of space where people could walk into it and we do something. I don't know if it's like kumbaya sessions or yoga, whatever it is, but where people will come in and they feel good because the ambiance, the smell, the service, the person comes up, shakes your hand. I think that's really appealing. So maybe one day we'll open a restaurant together. But
Absolutely.
that would be sick. I want to do a taco place. I keep saying it, so maybe I'm gonna speak into existence one day. I want like a little, just like taco, like a business that's like, it's like this size, like almost like a food truck size. You walk in and it's just excellent tacos.
Oh, that's amazing. But there's something really you said, talk it into existence, it's working. With both restaurants that we opened, we did exactly the same thing. With Zarding, we decided, first was the decision, right? Number one, you decide you're going for it.
Mhm.
You're opening a restaurant, Number two is location. Where is it? So we would drive every single day from Polly's Island all the way to North Pearl Beach, 2-3 times a day, and different roads and change, and every time we see something available for lease, for sale, we just go in there, look in the windows, and see the space. Okay, too small, too big.
Did you already have the finances for this, or you just kept?
Nothing.
Okay.
Just the idea and the passion. So in different places and constantly talk about it, and we start creating the concept, it's going to be a fast casual. Okay, for this concept, what do we need? How many square feet, and find the right location. And then, okay, where is our customer? Where would somebody live that likes something healthy and fast? Oh, Market Common. We love Market Common. It has that Europe vibe that you walk in there, you have the shops and you have the apartments, you have the park, you have the state park on the other side. Beautiful. Boom. We made it happen, Same thing with Santorini. We're driving by and we're like, in the Greek restaurant, with something that has a patio outdoors. Boom. We find this existing breakfast restaurant in business right now, right? They would close at 2:00. 4 or 5 o'clock, we would go there, sit in the patio, The business was operating, and we'd dream about it. What if this one day became available, We would do this, and we would have Greek music playing. We would build the playlist, We actually named it Santorini, and we start,
Oh, nice.
We start listening to songs. Boom, add it. We start talking about the menu, and calamari, octopus, this and that, the Greek wines, We start to, and we spend 2 to 3 hours every single day. And again, this was an existing operating business. And there we are, crazy, visualizing and talking, not about this specific place. Couple of months later, I'm working in the office. Christine is like, she's screaming. I'm like, what's up? She's like, check your phone. She sends me that this business was for sale. I'm like, what? Like, it was amazing, Even if we went through the first time with Zardin, this was against, it's like one of those things, like, you still can't believe it works, but it does. I'm like, oh my God. Like, everything we've been working on, everything we've been talking about, the menu, the music, everything. God is like, or the universe, boom, there you go. What'd you do with it?
Mhm.
So
That's pretty incredible.
it is. And again, I'm talking about it.
Did you almost pull the trigger on some other spots before that, or was it kind of like this? It was like down to this one or this one.
It was that one.
Okay.
I'm telling you, we were there like, this is gonna be available one day. We knew it. We just didn't know that it was gonna be in 3 months. That was the crazy part. And that's the power of visualization and power of doing the work. And you see the difference. We didn't wait for the place to become available and then do the work. We first did the work. We built Santorini in our mind. We built it exactly, the location, the colors, the layout. That's why it took us, once we was available, it took us 2 months to get everything ready.
Yeah, that was fast. That was really fast.
It was, but
because you already had.
We already
the
have everything
designs.
ready.
Yeah.
We had the menu, we had everything ready, The only thing was like, find the right people to bring, where we're gonna import the wine from, distribution, where we're gonna bring the Greek products from, who we're gonna bring it. Like, small details. But majority of it was already here, it was already created.
Yeah. That's really cool.
And that's the important thing. You have to do the work first, and then the results will come. You cannot just get same thing. Somebody wants to get a raise, right? They become a manager instead of the assistant manager. Well, first you have to learn the skills. First you have to do the work, and then the title and the raise will come. Most people expect
and kind of visualize what it would be like to be the manager, because you'll start acting like that person, right?
You have to act like it, And same thing, you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to act like one. You have to think, how would a business owner, would they wake up early in the morning and start the day, or would they wake up, midday?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the small things that you have to act, and then you'll become.
Do you guys see yourselves opening 3, 4, 5, 6 restaurants? Like, or is that kind of, or do you feel like that's, um, is that kind of, what do you think?
Yeah, man, like we love the industry, and I think like we were saying before, uh, we don't like the standards. Our goal is to raise the standards. That's what we did with Zardin when we first opened. That's what we're doing with Santorini right now, and that's what we're gonna keep doing with all of our concepts that we have, which is plenty different concepts. We want to elevate the scene. We want to create every single restaurant that we own. Uh, we want them to have a great experience for the customers. So we don't want them to just come for the food. We want them to be like, yeah, we're going there because we feel good, we feel comfortable, we like the food, we like the service, everything is amazing. The music, the whole experience is great. So we do have the goal to have our own hospitality group and have different concepts where we bring in town to elevate the experience. Although there is always restaurants are wonderful, but there are other concepts too because there is so much opportunity in Myrtle Beach overall, but
Sure.
also in the United States. Like I said before, yoga places and different experiences. Because what do people do when they visit over here? They just go to the beach, they go to restaurants and some attractions
Sure.
like barefoot, Broadway at the beach. But I think we need more things for people to
More
do.
elevated experiences. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like I did see it's something in Charleston that's cool. It's called the something raw, but or raw labs. Very unique, and there's nothing like it here. But you go there and it's just one guy, and he's basically, it's like a oyster, it's maybe a room the size of this. He's
I
behind a
see. Yeah.
bar, and he's got ice around the
Yeah.
counter because he does this raw, but it's like music, fog machines, disco. I think he does it Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's $150 a person, exclusive, and he cooks in front of you and like, makes cocktails, but it's like a whole vibe, and he only allows 12 people every time, 3 nights a week, 12 people, that's it. And so set revenue, whatever, but it's just a cool concept. It's a very unique experience. You're there for like 4 or 5 hours, but that's the type of thing where I think like experiences like you talked about are like more important than necessarily like having like a whole concept or restaurant or like thing. It's just like the experience focus on a great place where there's great music, great energy, great vibes. I think we need more of that here. What's
Is
kind
that
of
person the owner of the business?
He's the owner, yeah. So he's a chef, and that's like his
Yeah.
other side thing is this 3 night a week just evening event. I think it's like I said, 4 or 5 hours, and I was just introduced to it by the Ninja Greco guys, whatever they're called. But is that like is stuff like that interesting to you, like unique concepts, like coffee shops or things like that?
Absolutely, and that's what we're doing. I mean, with Zardin, there was no healthy restaurant before we brought Zardin, and now you have a couple other options. Santorini, there's no other Greek restaurant. There are some Mediterranean restaurants. So our goal is not to bring another concept that already exists. It's like bring something different.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, on that meaning, but with these concepts, like the certain person, right, that he's a chef, owner, operator. I don't like those concepts myself because if you're not there, the business is not running without you. If you're not cooking the raw oysters or doing all the tricks that you're doing over there, who's gonna do it?
Right.
So then you create the experience, you do it for a little bit, and then you bring somebody else, and the experience goes down. For me, the most important thing is consistency. In everything. Same thing you have in Conway, right? Antos Pizzeria, fantastic pizza, amazing. The guy he's a master. He just won the prize.
So I won some award, yeah.
I went there. I have a gluten problem over here in the States. I don't have with his pizza. I ate the whole pizza. I wasn't bloated.
Wow.
I usually have rashes when I eat gluten. All great, but this guy, he's the owner and chef. He's the only person that makes the dough. He's the only person that makes the pizza. He sells out.
Yep. A lot of people complain about that too. Yeah.
That's okay. He's happy. But that's the thing. I wouldn't do that because that's not who I am. And you have to be, when you decide what business you're gonna open, you can decide the concept. You have to be sure, like, is this something that is gonna require me
Right.
there every single day, or is this something that I can sometime leave and find somebody
And,
to
and
replace.
that's a tough one. Even for me, because in a lot of my business has been built off the backs of relationships, good relationships with the clients, good relationships with people. I noticed when I hired videographers and photographers to go to the shoots in my place, and I was managing, the guys would come back and they'd say, "So and so is asking about you. They're wondering when they're going to see you again." Or I get messages like, "Hey, are you going to stop by?" And as a business owner, I'm like, well, that's not my role anymore. That's like that I can't manage while being physically in it every day. But a lot of clients didn't like that because initially when they met me, they enjoyed the rapport that we had together filming and making videos, and they felt like they lost that. And that's they had purchased that more than maybe the service. And I didn't realize at the time. I mean, I love to have good relationships with people, but at the end of the day, my focus was on, obviously us liking our time together, but also having good service. And so that's what my hope was, putting some else in there. The guys have good energy, they're very talented, but some of the clients were like, that we feel like we had a drop in service. So it's tough to have
So
a bespoke.
they felt it.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that that was true.
Right.
So it's all about how people feel, how does
Right.
your clients feel. So in your case, and I do agree with that, because when people work with other people, it's not necessarily the product. It's like, I trust you.
Right.
You are the owner, or you are the person that's selling me the idea, so I trust you, not necessarily the idea.
Right.
If you are able to sell the idea and make it work and make them feel good, that's great. If not, that's where you lose
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's a learning lesson in how you market, just like you with your restaurants. Like if you were to leave, um, and I think that's where your training comes in. You're confident that like the host, the servers will still be just on it. Like, and there's probably that one person in your restaurant that that will keep everyone else on it because people respect that person, even if they're not like a manager. Like they know that that person's going to be on it, and you don't want to be, looking bad. Like I remember I had a neighbor down the street as a kid, and anytime they got on the bus, I would immediately just like snap into this. I don't want to say it was a character, but I knew them well enough to where they were just always kind, respectful, really polite. And there was like 8 kids, and they were all this way. They were all just really polite, really respectful, really kind, really just well mannered. And it was bizarre because they were ages like 5 through 15. Like every one of them was like a year apart, but all of them, the Garrett family, that was their names. They were just all these really nice kids. And like if I went over to their house, I would just assimilate into them because they were showing me the way you're supposed to act. And the parents, kudos to them, how they raised these kids. I don't know, but it was just like Little House on the Prairie or something. These kids were all just like that. So I would just know, if Jeffrey got on the bus, I would immediately start kind of acting more like Jeffrey. I would just be like, seeing the kids acting up, throwing stuff. I'd be like, I just wouldn't want to be that because I wouldn't want Jeffrey to see me in a different way than he knew me when I came to his house. And it would literally impact the way I behaved while he was in my presence. And if he saw me in the hallways and I was cussing and he walked by and heard me cuss, I'd be like, oh, man, Jeffrey just heard me cuss. I don't want to cuss around Jeffrey. And so that's kind of I think if you can instill that in your team, and there's a level of respect, like your team respects your other team members in that way, that transcends like the owner. That's like, wow, like it's not just the owner that has a standard. Like I'm holding myself that I want to be as on it as Josh. Like he is on every table. Everyone likes him. Everyone respects him. And I've worked in restaurants where there's dudes like that. You're like that dude's the dude. He always kills it. He always gets good tips. He always gets requested. And you might hate him a little bit because he's like the teacher's pet. But at the same time, you're just jealous. Like you're not bringing the A game like he is and taking it as seriously. And if you're doing that in the industry, you should be in it. First of all, some people do it as a career and they make bank. I've worked with a server that made $2,000 a week, like killed it, literally $2,000 a week. I saw it. I mean, he'd show me. He just got requested by these big high rollers, and I was just like, how the heck? And it's because he put in years of just being on it. So yeah, I think it's one of those things like culturally, if you're able to build that, I think you have to learn that as a leader because it's easy for you to like hold yourself to a standard because you own the business and this is your baby, but translating that to your team and them wanting to be that as well, that's a skill that takes some good training and some good just consistency as the owner.
Absolutely. And also, you shouldn't make only one person, the manager, to do that. You should be able to have the whole team. That's why, the biggest companies out there, they have core values. Why
Hmm.
do they put the core values? It's so every single team member understands the business. What are we doing over here? Who is our customer? What is our job to do? And make sure they do it every single day. But you said something before about the environment, right? It's very important, the environment that you are in. And that's why earlier I mentioned that when something is wrong, I get my team and we discuss about it. And also when something is good, still, and I tell them, walk in the room with confidence. Even if you made a mistake, walk with confidence, because if everybody does that, the energy in the room feels good. So the customers are like, I feel nice in here. Like, look at it all. Like, it's the energy. That's something. Energy is something that you don't see, but you do feel.